Cut my mice into pieces. That's not how. Cut my wife into pieces. That one, you know that one?
Yeah, I know that one.
Jacoby. All right, we're going to do a Reacts video here.
With the space bar.
Where are we right here? It looks like
This
we're
is your
in
bay.
my work bay.
Yeah, so this video was labeled first work day at new shop. So you're going to build a belt, and I'm assuming it's the first thing you built here.
I had a, you can see
There's
the floor.
Sebastian right
You
there.
can see the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's because there's nothing
You
in
cannot see the floor any longer.
Yeah,
There's
I
like a path that meanders through.
I don't think you even have a machine in there anymore. So
I think there's
There
a
is.
machine underneath, so
It's
you
piled.
can't. It's
Piled.
there's a machine right where that is.
The piles are literally
Here's what
as tall
happens.
as the machine.
Here's what happens. We go run around on the weekends, and we come back here and unload the 4Runner, and it's almost always time to do a live. So stuff gets set wherever I set it, and then people come in on Monday morning, and it's in their way, and they're like, "Oh, this is John's shit," so they put it in my work bay. I'll put it here where John will see it, which is typically, well, there's been so much of that piled up
Yeah.
that sometimes the piles fall over. So then I'm like, where's the road? How do I get in here? So I pick it up and I set it someplace. And then in 6 months, I'm like, I need this thing. I know I bought some of them. It's going to be faster just to order another one. So I buy another one.
The coolest thing is it happens on live, like maybe once a month. Somebody will bring up some like random cool guy rig. You're like, you know what? Let me come over here. You like just knock a bunch of stuff off of a pile. You're like, I have one right here.
I mean, I pretty much know where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to,
Sebastian right there.
yeah,
And
baby
the
head.
empty shelves.
Yep. So we're going to set this up. And so we built this building and we divided it into workspaces, basically where the pillars are. So when they're like, how do you want your lights and your switches? So we built everything out so that we were going to divide everything into 20 by 20 rooms. And basically what we were going to do is the pallet racking you see there, we were going to put pallet racking in and then put pegboard or drywall or plywood on there and then paint it white. So it would have sound deadening and it would also cool those zones. Those zones each had a vent in them. So when you walked in that space, all the air wouldn't be commingled. That area would it would be cool in there. Because when we first went into the building, you would walk in with 5, 10, 15 people. They'd come into town. They're like, can we see the new building? So we'd go over there. And then when we'd have like get-togethers or parties, you'd have 100 people here. You would walk out. We'd just walk around the property, show them the building. But it was so loud and echoey. When you'd walk in, people were like, oh my God, it's so bright in here. It hurts my eyes. And then you'd walk out of there an hour later and you'd be hoarse because everybody talking, the echoes were so bad. So we thought we had to compartmentalize it. And then when we got in there and we started actually moving the materials and stuff in there, it caught all the sound vibration and it deadened everything out. So we never did divide it into zones like that.
Space bar.
Yep. Okay. Space bar. I'm throwing off the tracking on this. So space bar. All right.
Holy shit.
How you doing, James?
Holy shit. James Hicks was here the other day. He looks just like that still.
Working on the new shop.
Is that Colin
A
talking?
bunch of gear
Yes. There you are. You needed a haircut. That cutter is still sitting right there on that table.
in. Ruler.
Hicks always hated being on camera. He was there a lot,
Yeah.
but when we were going to film, he'd leave.
Or hide.
Hicks can fix anything, make anything out of anything. If you needed a part for a thing that didn't exist, he could build it. That dude works. Like, he always has cool shit. He always sells up. And there was always local people talking shit, like super, because he grew up here, went to school here, still lives here. So people of his age that he went to school with, he's always done better, right?
Way
Because
better.
he holds multiple jobs at a time and will just stay doing the same thing over and over and make money. And then he always works. Like, when he's not at work, he's working, doing something else. And amazing motocross racer, like came up pretty big motocross, worked at several of the bigger, bike shops and stuff. And you saw a lot of local people talk shit like, oh, he's a drug dealer.
Yeah,
and
that
he's
was the big
this and
thing.
he's that. Like, I didn't even know the people that were talking, and they didn't know me or know that I knew James, but I'd be someplace and hear them speaking about this dude. And James was here the other day, and what was he doing? Running equipment.
Yep.
He wasn't at work, and he was doing what? He was working. There's a dude bought some property over here, some old power company property, basically, and there's big canyons. And they're actually building one of those canyons into a pond. And they've built a house, and he's got a couple hundred acres back in there. And he works with, my son is friends with this guy. His father does the same type of stuff. He's always going to buy something and always selling something. And he always fixes it or whatever. And then it can be boats, tractors, I mean, anything. He's selling shit all the time and always on the run to pick something else up. And that's how James does too. Well, James partnered up with this dude and does some equipment, and they do big earth moving stuff. So he's like, I go, where you been? He's like, dude, we can't get off of this job. Every time he just adds something more and something, which is good, right?
Yeah.
But what was he doing on his day off? He was working. And James right now looks just like he looks right here years ago.
Yeah, the guys aren't even under. I don't think I've ever turned
Hear the echo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ruler here? Oh, well, no, not a ruler.
That's Scully.
Yep.
Yes, completely.
I saw a level, but I didn't see a ruler.
A level.
Man, I can't get a straight cut on
There's no bar on it.
Justin, those guys.
Normally those gauges right there, those
Are
bars
forward.
are forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a brand new cutter probably.
Sounds like there's several people there.
With all this shit, and literally everything I've gone to do, I've not been able to fucking do a single thing because we're missing something.
Still that way. With all this shit, and I don't have the thing I need. There's 2 printers sitting there. We burn through printers and embroidery machines and stuff. So I walked in the building yesterday, and Amanda's holding this giant printer, and I go, what are you doing? She goes, the printer on my desk ran out of toner, and I don't have any toner. So she's
Because
grabbing.
it's not my printer.
We have toner for the other one, so she's relocating the printer. But that's what those are. Those are 2 brother laser printers sitting there in boxes because we always have them. Anytime we unbox one, we buy another one.
It's funny that you have orders in your bay.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. I don't know. Those actually look. I don't know if they're orders or they're just empty boxes that are prepped, ready to fill.
It looks like there's
Maybe.
stuff
I
in
think that's
those.
stuff on the top there.
Maybe. Yep.
Minuscule little piece.
You can do it.
What am I measuring off of? There's no ruler there.
I think you're measuring your arm span.
I wonder if I'm just building a video. I wonder why we're making this video. I'm obviously not building a customer's order.
My guess is it's just to make a video. Build a belt just to make a video.
Weird.
There's a couple of buckles right here.
Get some 1.5.
Okay, so I'm going to build a 1.5. I should be able to build this belt in 3.5 minutes.
You don't have any Velcro.
I also probably have never used this sewing machine before. That tinking sound you hear, that's the Cobra buckle just hitting the floor or something. And that machine will actually run way faster than that.
Definitely makes a lot of
I don't know.
noise.
Yeah, hear that squeaking sound? I was just thinking in my head too, what is that?
It's the mystery noise.
Well, usually if you have a sound like that, it's usually that something, that guard is on this machine. Usually that belt's exposed, so things can fall there. There's a pulley that the belt spins on. So a lot of times you'll get your extra thread, which isn't even on this machine, the bobbin winder thread. It'll get in there and it'll catch and get between the belt, and then it'll roll up a half a mile of thread, and it changes the tension on the belt, and the belt starts squeaking. So if you hear a sound that you don't, it happens every day here. I'll be standing up front and I'll just hear something squeaking or crunching, and I'm like, hey, go check that machine. And Miranda will walk over there, and there's always something. Something has fallen there. So if you hear a sound that's not there, address it, because something's going to happen.
If you hear a sound that you don't typically hear, address it.
So I don't know if this helps you try to diagnose it, but a few videos before this one, you were delivering that sewing machine to that bay, and you were like trying to get the stand right, and you were just like kicking it. You're like, oh, it looks crooked. It just started kicking.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We did buy some. We had some of these machines in the other building, and then we bought more of them. And I had some that were even bigger. We had some that were air operated that would tack. When you'd start sewing, it would go forward and it'd tack it to start. It would lock the thread in. And then when you rock the pedal backwards, it would auto clip it.
That's cool.
So we had to run air. They were air compressed, so they were louder. There was always a compressor running because we hadn't plumbed the shop for air. But when it would cut the thread short, it wouldn't cut it short enough, but it would still be long enough that if you burnt it, it would make a smear. So it actually created more work. Everything that machine was supposed to do,
It didn't do.
I was so fast, and everybody here was so fast on just the plain Jane machines that the benefits of having the way more expensive machine actually created more work for us.
I'm actually curious about, so there's another video, I don't think I have it, but I can get it. You're using a double needled machine that's doing 2 lines at once, and I've never seen anybody here use that. Do you guys still
We got rid of it.
Yeah.
There was no benefit to it. So we had a machine set up that it would go to the 1.5 inches.
Yeah.
So we would just take that webbing and push it through, but then we still had to take and go to another machine to tack the edges, because it wouldn't do it. It would just basically do the single pass. So it was faster having to take that off, break that thread, put it on another machine and tack it. By the time you did that, we were 30 seconds faster just sewing it all with the single.
And that's kind of like the idea of, that's why there's no automation here, because you could just do it faster.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were starting people from scratch maybe, or you had low ability people, right? It just, they weren't skilled already.
Yeah.
With skilled labor, you can take any shop out there, no matter how automated it is, and if we're building the same product, I can take me and one other person in there and we'll outperform them every time.
That's like we were just talking about on the other video, the apps to make shorts. It's a lot easier for me just to do it the right way because I know how to do it.
Well, you're super fast in Final, like you're retarded fast. Like it's insane to watch you, how quick you are. Even Brandel, who's really good in Final Cut, but you're fast. You're like insanely quick.
That came from just having to get it.
Do it, yeah. And that's what I tell people. When you do things the hard way, right? You almost have to do them the wrong way or the difficult way. Like we were out here doing some tractor work, or we out here with rakes, raking out. We had put out all the mulch and we're raking it out. And one of the guys that had been working for us for a while, and I knew when he came in, he had like a 27-page resume, and it was like manager this and all kind, like plant manager, plant maintenance. Like he was very, very qualified, right? And I liked the dude, but he had finally just had enough. He did not fit in here, right? He wants to work a $200,000 a year position, and he had come from that and and that's why I'm like, why do you fucking want to work here? And those guys never work out. But he finally threw his rake down, and he's like, why are we doing this bullshit when we could just move this with the tractor? Well, and he threw his rake and fucking threw his shit down and left. That was him quitting. He didn't say I quit or anything. But the deal is, there's a couple reasons. Number one, the real reason is we're doing it this way because this is how I want the story told, right? But the real reason is it had just rained. So while there was mulch up there, the ground was super saturated underneath. This whole hill here is a gravel pit. And over years, we have put these wood chips out here and they have broken down and become topsoil. But when we run heavy equipment through there, it makes a rut, and everything on the downhill side of the rut sloughs off, and we actually lose all that topsoil. Now we have to wait for it to dry and then take all that dirt and put it back up there and rake it. And it's way easier to rake. It's way easier to rake out wood chips than the soil. And that's the real reason. But the real reason is because I fucking said so.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's when you take an hourly job, you're selling your time. It's not about what you're doing. It's about you being there. So you should be willing to do whatever the person paying you for your time wants you to do.
There's a lot of ways to achieve the same thing. And the final appearance might be the same, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? And we were very manpower heavy. Right? We employed a lot of dudes, and we created work for those dudes to do.
Yeah, I don't know if there might be a new viewer or something, but when guys come work here, they do manual labor.
It's not even about manual labor. It's that we don't put them on the sewing machines. We use manpower, and let's be real, women and men are not fucking equal, right? Nope. Women are better at certain things and men are better at other things. If I put a girl out here, not all girls, there'll be a woman that shows up here that'll outperform all my dudes in manual labor. But most women come in here, and if I put them out there with the dudes, it's going to be a fucking problem.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere, somebody's fucking somebody. Like we just keep them separate, and it's not a fucking issue. So we had a bunch of guys, and we built this place on manpower. And it wasn't that just because I'm the boss and you're going to do what I say. It's because we didn't have money to buy equipment, right? Yeah. As soon as I bought the skid steer, or as soon as we leased, like we had a skid steer and an excavator here for 2 fucking years on rent. I spent enough money to buy both pieces of equipment over 24 months. Like that's no exaggerate, no bullshit, right? Yeah. But the day the skid steer came in here and the excavator came in here, there was 4 guys I didn't need to work.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? So Curtis showed up, and he had come here from a copper mine. Like when Curtis came in, his shirts, all his sweat looked like a copper penny in a well, right? The copper was leaching out of his body. Yeah. And he came here and he's like, I moved here from New York. I'm here to work. Well, this dude just moved here. Like, I don't have any, like I'm going to find a job, right? So we put him cutting and cleaning when we were in the old building, and he did a good job. And then when we moved here, he took care of animals. He'd come in a couple hours early, take care of animals, clip and clean. And when we needed something done, holes dug, dirt moved, like we terraformed this property. Yeah. Before we had proper equipment. And then guys would just show up, right? When we were making the breakfast videos and we were making the outside videos and stuff. Dudes wanted to be a part of that. They wanted to belong to that. So they moved here. And dudes would show up, sight unseen. I'm here to work. Well, we always put anybody that showed up wanted to work, we had fucking work. You might not last doing the work, or you might realize that, and a lot of the guys are running from something. When guys come here for that type of stuff, they're running from something, and it's usually the girlfriend and them have split up and he doesn't want to be around while she's got a new boyfriend, or I'm going to show her and she's going to miss me, and finally she calls and like, baby, please come home. There's a lot of that, right? Yeah. It's usually the woman that is the downfall when guys come here. Dudes come here and love the job, but there's not any job for the woman, and she doesn't come because usually there's a kid or something. So she's stuck in a small town, and there's not any jobs to go be had. She's just stuck there. He's out loving what he's doing with us, and she's stuck missing him and then pissed off that he's gone all day when he gets home. So he comes home and he's like, why do I want to be here if she's just yelling at me? And it gets to the point where they go back home, and then and we hear from these guys. They're sitting there doing nothing. It's a role reversal. Yeah. So we were very manpower heavy, and we couldn't just take 5, 6, 7 dudes and go, here's a tractor that you can destroy everything on the property with. Yeah. Go destroy shit, right? Because inevitably you're going to have somebody who's fine while you're standing there, but somehow when you turn around, they're going to have the fucking tractor in a pond, right?
Or in the building.
So whenever we had those dudes, Scully always had to be out there. And you'd hear him. He's like, okay, we're going to move up boat, down boat. He did it like, boot camp kind of shit. And I called him a crane operator. He controlled the joystick, which was the people, but always made sure the people did what they were supposed to do. Well, more important than doing what they're supposed to do, making sure they don't do something detrimental. Like I'd said before, like when Tyler first showed up here, we were about to have a party on the property. We'd done a lot of work. The building had been, painted on the inside. And Tyler and Keel and a couple dudes showed up. It was the same weekend Pierre had showed up and declared he's moving to Tennessee. So I met all these dudes, right? We're going to have a party. And we had hundreds of people show up that we'd never met. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Give me a chain. I go, I can't just fucking let transients loose on the property with a chainsaw, right? You're going to come in and you're going to cut down because inevitably I could be like, okay, I only want you to cut down trees. And this isn't about anybody specific. This is just about human beings.
In general.
I could go, okay, all the trees on the property, the only ones I want cut down have a pink band on them. There's a pink ribbon on them. There's no ribbons on any other trees. Only cut down the trees with the pink ribbons. And I'll come up here and they'll cut every fucking tree down except those.
Except the pink ribbons.
So you always have to be here. You just have to. And people mean well, right?
Yeah.
We had a ton of people here. My dear friend John Dunn, Tyler, there was a bunch of dudes, right? They're like, I'm coming into town early. What do you want us? I need some trees planted, right? Well, we dig these big holes with a shovel because we didn't have anything else. So we've got 10 dudes with shovels digging these holes, and none of us knew how to plant trees. We just didn't, right? So I'm like, okay, let's dig a 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot hole. So we dug these boxes, and then I'm like, okay, let's go get good soil. So I put mulch in the bottom, which is you don't want to do because that robs nitrogen from the soil because it's decomposing. And then we put soil in there, and then we planted the trees, and the trees did great for about a year. It rotted all the roots out. What was happening was we dug through this clay and this rock. These are rocks. Like we dug by hand through the same area that the tractors with buckets sometimes have issues getting through. And we dug these boxes, and what happened is we basically made like quicksand, right? So the rain would end up in these pits in this soil, and it would just super saturate, and it rotted the roots out because there was no place for that moisture to weep out. It was just a pit.
Clay.
Had we not put dirt in there and put water in there, it would have just been a square pond.
Yeah.
So none of us knew any of that stuff, right? And inevitably you're going to get, they always mean well, right? You're like, hey, I need my cars detailed. Oh yeah, I detail cars. And then you come out there and they've got a bucket with a fucking abrasive fucking foam pad and dirty water, and they mean well, right? They're washing your car, but when you dump out the water, it's full of sand and grit. It's not intentional. You have to do your due diligence, right? Because where that dude came from, that might have been what a car detail guy was, right? He doesn't know anything about hydrostatic water. He doesn't know anything about treated water. He doesn't know anything about a diffuser on your pressure washer. He doesn't know to dry your car with air, right? Yeah. So he's using dirty towels or abrasive, and they're swirling and scratching your clear coat. They don't know. They believe that what they're doing is what they should be doing, but it's not. You don't have the same level of calibration, or they just haven't been taught the same way you've been taught.
Which is why it's good to have somebody like Scully treating them like they're soldiers.
Yes.
He'll get the exact result that they want, but then people get like butthurt about it.
But they were never butthurt. Mm-hmm. They really craved it. They really needed the guidance.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
The drill sergeant or the father figure, and he wasn't ever drill sergeant. I was going to
say he treated them with very much respect, and he was just direct.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was even kid gloves. I'm like, why are you letting them do this? Mm-hmm. Like, why do I have to come out here and yell at them when they've clearly fucked this up? We've demonstrated it. Watch one, do one, teach one. Okay, this is how we do this. Mm-hmm. Now you do it. Now you teach him. You've demonstrated it, but when I turn around, I come out, and instead of digging a square hole, you've got a triangle hole. Mm-hmm. Just shit like that.
Yeah.
So we were all friends. We all ate dinner together. We hung out all the time. But it just got to a point where we were pouring so much money into things, and it wasn't inside the building. So we kind of shift gears. And when we hire them, we're like, look, like Tim and Matt came here to work. Fucking two best dudes you could ever have, ever. that were going to get, I mean, they were going to do the work of 20 dudes in a week. Every fucking time.
And they're going to
unquestioned.
smile while they did it.
But when it's like, when they came here to work here, I'm like, look, man, I don't have a lot of shit going on right now. You're going to have to work inside. And they'd work inside and they hated every minute of it. Every minute of it. Yeah. So we blew through a ton of money, like a lot of money.
Making projects.
Fencing, digging ponds, building structures outside. And like, we did like $100,000 in materials, right? I'm like, hey, we're going to have to come inside, spend a few weeks getting some work done. And, you know, they didn't want to do that. I totally understand it. Yeah. I literally had run out of money for those projects. And those projects weren't making any money. So the company was paying for those projects. And there was totally work for them. They would have been paid the same pay scale. They don't want to come inside. I get it. I understand, man. So when we started renting equipment, we no longer maintain, and we needed to come back inside. We needed to come inside, get work done, focus on shit, because Jeff would do fucking 8 hours out there. I'd be out there 4 or 6 hours. Dakota'd be in shipping most of the day, but whenever we're outside filming, he's outside a couple hours away from that. So he'd ship, and then Amanda would ship after he got off work. And then after we did all of this for 8 hours, Jeff would be back in here for fucking 4 hours, and I'd be back in here for another 6 to 8 hours. So we just kind of swapped. The guys kind of went their place. Most of the dudes that, like Curtis, he's still here in town. He works at a factory doing like galvanized. They're paying him like, he makes a ridiculous amount of money. Now the work is horrible, right? But he actually is in a building where it's like 130 degrees minimum, right? He's galvanizing these pipes that they build cell towers out of. Curtis, that's Curtis. Tyler, he went back to North Virginia. He shows up every year and he's like, I'm coming back to work. I'll see you next week. And we never see him. But we just don't have that manpower. But as soon as we got equipment, I didn't need that manpower, right? We'd have rail ties dropped off here. We'd get 400 rail ties, like no bullshit. And they'd just be in a pile all
wonky.
Yeah. Every kind of way, hodgepodge. So that would take guys. You would pick them up and stack them. You pick them up and stack them, pick them up and stack them. And then those guys would get tired, right? So you'd break them. You'd really need 4, 5, 6 dudes to move 400 rail ties and get them out of your way and decide which ones we're getting rid of and which ones we're keeping and get all the metal and shit out of them. And then we would chainsaw them in half, and we'd use them to link and log up to elevate water towers. And we had water towers all over the property so that if we ever lost water, we could still have water in those places for watering holes and watering plants and stuff that we had around the property. As soon as I got a skid steer with a thumb, there was 4 guys I didn't need, right? Yeah. So that's a week's worth of work that I'm paying these guys to do all this shit. And with a skid steer, I can do it all in 2 hours on a Sunday. So it's just a force multiplier. Yeah, absolutely. And it's much smarter. They don't get a splinter. They don't get, an eye infection. They didn't drink too much. Their wife didn't go crazy and they're in jail over the weekend. Like nothing happened to the skid steer. Yeah.
So ask me quiet.
So that desk is still sitting there as it is.
The
cabinet's still there. That machine's still there, that racking. Those tables are from Sam's Club, and they come flat packed. And that drawer there with the 7 drawers or the 5 drawer pull out, that's the little roller cart. It's got like a butcher top table. It's the same. It's one of these tables, actually. Yeah, I was going to say that. What you don't realize when you're looking at that, you're like, man, that's pretty cool for $120, and that cabinet's only $200, and it's got all the drawers and it locks. It's a fucking erector set. It literally is. Those doors on the tall cabinet are 4 pieces. It's not 2 pieces of metal like it looks like. And it comes with hundreds of nuts and bolts, and they're super short. So like when we bought a trailer load of this stuff from Sam's Club on a 16-foot flat car hauler, and we filled it all up by hand, and we didn't have enough tie downs. So we bought these snap-on tie downs from Lowe's or from Sam's Club. And we took them out, and we had all the guys. Like, we'd gone to Jackson. There was a place we went that had a private room, and we'd go in every Wednesday, and everybody would eat steak. And we went there so much that the waiters, when they knew we were coming, they had all of the drinks and everything we wanted already there. They were awesome crew. And then we'd go over. So we didn't have enough tie-downs. So we buy these snap-on tie-downs, and no shit, we take them out of the package. We hook them on one of the mounting points on this side, bring it across, start ratcheting it, and the ratchets broke on every one of those tie downs.
And they were snap-ons?
Yeah, but it's horse shit. They're not like real
Yeah,
snap-on.
They're from Sam's Club.
But every one of those fucking things broke. Not a one of them fucking held the loads. So we drove without any strapping on half of that load over to Tractor Supply and bought some different ratcheting tie downs.
I think we have like 30 of those cabinets.
But I had, when we first came in the building, we got over 30 of those cabinets. When we first came in the building, we bought a trailer load of that shit, and it took Curtis, and it was Curtis, Cody. Who's the kid? The chubby kid worked here, was going to be, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to ask you a question every Friday about being an entrepreneur.
Cameron,
and there was another dude. Cameron lived with his grandparents, and that was Old Man Mac, who was an amazing craftsman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just a gristled old from the dirt
awesome.
man. And if there was some shit, he was going to, like, he would tell you whether you wanted to know it. He was going to tell you how shit was. And when the stuff was stolen off the property, he's like, you got a minute? I'll take you and show you where your stuff is.
Yep.
Right? So Cameron would come to work with Mac, and then we ended up giving Cameron a job. But Grandma was very much, those guys aren't good for you. They cuss. They've got bad words on their shirt. And he would come in.
Bad influences.
She would take him clothes shopping and dress him up like a little sissy fag, like a little prep. And he came to work in Crocs and stepped on a nail. And I'm like, hey, you need some shoes. Go get some shoes. I'll pay for them. And he did. And Grandma was very mad that he was required to have different footwear.
Regular footwear.
She wanted to. She had some perception of her baby grandboy, how he was going to be. And he was wanted to be around men, and she wanted him not to be a man, which is very weird because Mac was a man's man.
Well, that's like what I was talking about earlier. Mothers are gonna mother, so it's on the dads to give.
Yeah, I think he's just like, okay, I'm not gonna fight this fight. Maybe.
Yeah.
I miss that man. He built all those fucking cutting tables that are in the building. Like, just a good dude. Mm-hmm. Like, the contractor had come to me at one point and he's like, hey, the contractor was great. The foreman, I think he was in control of people that had bullied him in high school. And I think he was scared of his crew, for real. And then you had Old Man Mac there. And they're like, where do you want the light switches? I go, I don't fucking know. You guys build $1 million homes. Where should the light switches be? And lo and behold, my light switches, when you come into the door, when you open the door, they're behind the fucking doors.
Yeah, upstairs.
So I didn't know the light switches are supposed to go on the opposite side of the hinges always. I didn't know that. I know it now because I have fucking 20 light switches that are in the wrong place. But Mac wouldn't have let that happen. That's the kind of shit. Like,
White thread.
Well, that machine's totally quiet.
Yeah, that's a lot quieter than I thought
That
it'd be.
doesn't make any noise.
so all that clicking's not me, whatever that is.
Those other ones scream like a banshee. That's the first thing we saw in this building. That's the first thing.
So that big cabinet's still there. I'll bet those Rubbermaid containers are still there.
I'm sure they
The
are.
size is off, so I might have bother putting that.
That's a Bose to the right of that desk against the wall is a Bose. That's a bass module for a Bose system. We used to pipe music out. Now everybody just uses earbuds. Like, I had a whole Pioneer Premier head unit or a Denon head unit and Polk audio speakers through the entire other building. I had Bose outdoor waterproof speakers. I'll bet they're still there. We might have taken the outside ones down, but I had tons of sound system. We used to
listen to Jack Spearco.
Jack Spearco through the shop, and when I wouldn't play it, the girls were like, hey, aren't we going to listen to Jack Spearco today? Melinda and Linda and all of them. And then I had speakers outside so that if we were outside just doing whatever, you could hear the music outside also, or whatever was playing.
I was going to say somebody would buy that.
So, there's that. We've got 6 of these. We're going to run them on the walls, draw fans. Those are all built. He's supposed to get some bigger fans than what we use in the other building.
That was Mac that built all those units. So if you look in there where that like dryer vent pipe comes down with that bell housing, he put that in. There's a big blower in there that vents it to the outside and pushes all that or pulls it.
So we'll just come
That
through
table,
some,
Mac built that.
flexible tubing.
The tables in the other building, there's, I don't know, 6 of those cutting tables like that in the other shop. James Yeager made all those ones.
That's what because I remember a long time ago hearing you say that James made the tables. I was like, I guess they're not the ones that you're talking about, but it's the ones in the other building
Yeah,
you made.
yeah. Sherman's like, yeah, Yeager's a pretty good wood butcher. He just showed up with a skill saw, a DeWalt drill, and then put them together, right? That was before we had impact drills or, any of the cool shit we have now. And Yeager just built those right there in my old building in, 15 minutes maybe. He built every one of them. Now these ones, see the bracing that's under these. The other ones didn't have that. We went through after the fact and put them all on there. But we used those tables for years.
Exhaust out. We brought all the boxes over. We brought a bunch of inventory over. Come on.
There's Tyler right there.
Yep. Everything now,
I was sitting there shipping.
as clean as it looks right there, all that shit is still there in exactly the same place. There's just tons of shit piled on all of it.
It's all cocks right
So
there.
all those cocks and those are we were making thousands of combat cocks.
My hair was actually blonde in this one.
I thought it was funny that you were sitting there because that's like your spot.
Right.
still,
I
you
was
know?
shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
at
That's
that.
what I did. I was shipping.
Look at that big old booty. Looks like you had
You
a.
wouldn't like me if I didn't have a big old booty.
It looks like you're wearing a shoulder holster.
No, I'm wearing a shirt that has an open back. It
Why?
was like a workout shirt.
Why would you do that?
Oh, fuck, who knows?
Part of your Laura Croft outfit.
That's right.
We've just got the shelving in place. We've still got a lot of stuff
Patch
to move
panels.
over,
Who's
but,
that?
Bits and pieces of it are here.
That's Jeff. Skinny.
That's not Scully. Was it?
Betcha.
We have a lot more room for
Look at all that Swinney nutrition up there on the wall.
activities.
Lots of room
We
for
have a lot more
activities.
room for activities.
Told you. That was right when
What's
he
that
came
hand
in.
wave mean?
Do we have more room for activities?
All those rigs.
It's just that I don't know what to do with my hands.
Typhon
What do you
right
do
there.
with
Oh,
your
those are all, yeah. All those bins are AK-M4 micros.
Yeah.
It looks like. Look at all that OD. There's a shotgun rigs
Yeah.
all the way to the right. Yeah, we did. We were heavy on inventory.
Look at all those bins.
Yeah, empty bins.
Empty bins.
We just had to go buy hundreds of more bins because they're all full. I don't know where they go. I swear to God,
It's like
somebody
they eat them.
steals them.
I think they eat them.
There's my hands.
You gotta talk louder.
Oh, I thought we didn't have to do that now that there was stuff in the building.
You still gotta talk louder.
Why?
Because people think that you're somber and sad.
Well, I am somber and sad
Why?
because we have all this room for activities and we're not doing anything.
No
We have a lot
activities
more
are going
time
on?
For activities.
We will have more time
Tyler's
for
pulling
activities.
orders.
There is a video. The garage was still empty at this, or it was more like a garage than it is
It had
now.
junk in it, probably.
We were back there on little bicycles jousting with the carpet tubes. Like some of the guys got fucked up.
Now that we're going to streamline this.
So I was gonna put some 2x6 up.
Those racks right there, James Hicks and Jack Garland made those racks, as well as our rack in the back that holds material rolls. And then we ended up running them further. Now those are, we recently, like a couple years ago, went and got these rubber caps to go on them. Like I've stood up and hit my head, and a customer got himself once on there. So we've addressed that since then.
That comment you made about being somber, there's like you used to go and do shop updates at night. You'd work at the other shop and then come here. And because the sound was all weird, everybody would be like, "What's wrong with John? Like, why is he sad?" And it was just because.
Well, we used to fuck with Sebastian all the time. Like, what's wrong with you? Is your life out of order? Why are you so somber and sad? He's like, or we do that to Dakota. Like,
Yeah.
Dakota would always be quiet because she's reading.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's the matter with you? Is your life out of order? Are you misunderstood? So,
That was the big one, or you misunderstood.
all right, hold on. I got to go to the bathroom.
With some rebar. And
James came in and
oh,
hicksed it up.
fancy. You had to hicks it up. Oh, you fancy, huh? So he made this, he fabricated this. And we got a shitload more Swinny stuff. We haven't brought it over. I don't want to pull it out of the air-conditioned building into the hot and have it sweat. So we brought a lot of it over this morning, but another load we'll bring in the morning when it's cooler, just so we don't get a bunch of temperature variation on it.
Because we didn't have AC
Have it
in
sit
there yet.
outside.
No, that's not what it was about. It was about it being super, coming out of the air-conditioned building into the super hot. It was like 90, 100 degrees
Gotcha.
in the truck ride.
All that medical stuff.
Who is in there?
Sebastian.
What else do we want to tell them?
What is that fucking clicking sound?
It's Jeff putting the shoulder straps on all those micro rings.
Got it. I keep looking at. I'm like, stop it. Whatever
It's
you're
not me.
doing.
Shitload of shit out of here today.
Yes, we did.
13 bags.
That's all
went.
tape over
Yeah,
there.
that was all
Okay.
tape. Those boxes of tape.
Yeah, but you couldn't see it. 'cause
Dog
they were already
leashes.
in the excursion, and they'd already loaded half of them by the time we thought to do it.
Man,
but
a
with
lot of dog
Amanda
leashes.
and Nick, the new guy,
Nick,
shipping.
the new guy,
Nick, the
shipping.
new guy, shipping. They shipped a bunch, and then I pulled, Tyler pulled, and then Cody's home pulling. So we got 3 people pulling. I'm pulling from.
I was a lot smaller there and fatter.
I think this was like right in the midst of when you hurt your shoulder. So you weren't working out.
Working the oldest orders, they're pulling off the top. Our buy now, ship now orders have all processed. Don't email me if you didn't get shipping information. We ran out of multi-cam bags. They're going to build some more tomorrow. It's okay. And what else? Come on.
That was back before the Botanica.
Who's that?
That's Tyler.
Yeah, it's definitely before. Who's that there?
Nick.
Nick, okay.
Nick, the new guy. It's Dakota.
As you see, these are the
Can't
orders
those
that are in.
orders.
These are actually empty boxes. These are the orders.
No, these are about to be
processed
shipped.
shipping. These are processed and now being shipped.
Looks
These
like I like
are
pink.
orders in motion. And there's no longer on the back. It's just single row.
So we thought we were doing pretty good there. We've gotten all those orders out, and we're looking at it right now. We're like, holy shit, that's a lot of orders sitting there open. We used to have 10 times. Apparently, we've been in the building for a little while here, or at least something was in the building for a while. We've shipped out a shitload of orders.
we have whittled this down considerably. I've got it down to 5 racks.
So we had it went back up at one point. It was as high as 10 racks.
Right.
I think you're down to 5 currently.
Yeah, we went through and we had all these. She moved all the racks in the back. I'm going to the ground. I'm like, why is all this back here? Those were all those orders that we just didn't need those racks anymore.
And these are the orders that we have waiting on stuff. We've cut them almost in half.
Yeah, we need to go through the kitchen really and just take everything out of the kitchen and just put. I'm going to take those empty shelves. I'm going to take all the full shelves, roll them out of the kitchen, put empty shelves, and go pick 100 things that you want to keep. The rest of this is going in the dumpster.
You know how I would always clean out my kitchen is I would move. And then
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not taking this shit with me.
Exactly. Everything needs to come out of the kitchen, and we need to degrease the floor.
Over the last couple of days, we just worked our ass off trying to get this cut down so we didn't have to move it all. Follow me.
Follow me. Follow me if you want to live.
We haven't done a whole lot back here. We're starting to put our materials in place. All those boxes you see are all boxes of plastic, meaning our Fastex buckles, our tri-glide, shit like that.
I want to know what is in the table in the dark back there that's piled up so high.
It's gear.
We got a bunch of Cobra buckles we still got to move. Here's a few
Printer
of them.
paper.
Threads starting coming in. We got a nylon. This is just seconds. When you guys get bags that have off-color or mismatched color stuff on the inside, we do that because Cordura typically for
What price do you think I'm about to say? I'm probably going to say that Cordura costs $6 a yard. It's like $13 a yard now.
say
Let's see. What are those? Those are light bulbs. Light
It's utility carts.
Oh, maybe okay.
It's the carts.
Yeah, we have 100 or so of those now.
Cryptech and Multicam, you pay about $13 a yard for the camo patterns. We have the new patterns, which have not gone to production yet, being printed, and we actually pay $20 a yard, $22 a yard for that stuff. It's a digital printed material. we get overruns and seconds, which means on the seconds, it could be that the water coating on the back, the DWR, durable water resistant coating on the back, could have a run in it or something like that. You won't ever see it. Or the dye color's off, or it's just overruns. They did a shitload of foliage. Foliage has died out. Nobody's buying foliage shit. Our vendor said, hey, I've got 10,000 yards of foliage, so we bought every bit of it. And the reason we use that stuff on the inside of bags is because we get it for like $2 or $3 a yard. And the foliage shit actually looks awesome. We're actually going to run some stuff out of it, just some small run bags and stuff. And,
That's funny because Jeremy just cut like some basically foliage cordura, and he put green webbing and stuff. And they're cut in there right now in queue to be ran. It's just funny that we're still having the exact same
conversation.
I have these same conversations. Like I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago on a video somewhere. Maybe it was a live feed about how we buy seconds because we get it on, lower price. Whereas it used to be like the solid colors were like $6 a yard. Mm-hmm. And now they're more. And the printed stuff was like $11 a yard. Now it's way, way more. Everything costs it like
twice.
Over the last 3 years, everything's doubled. Every time I buy thread, the price is higher. Every time I buy cordura, they quote me a price on the order because they won't tell me because it always goes up. It's constantly raising. It never comes back down.
It's cool. But this is all just overrun. We've got a bunch in the back and we've still got a bunch to move. Scully said, hey, it'd be cool if we had some way to roll the material from station to station while they're cutting. And
we never use that for
West
that.
And Hicks threw this together. It's on casters, and it just holds. I think it gets 6 on each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That cart's sitting right there. It's never moved.
Rolls in, as it goes smaller, you can prop a bunch more.
We use it to hold big rolls of mesh and stuff now.
Well. We just went to Sam's Club last night and bought every one of these little roller carts they had. They had 20 of them. And then we bought some more of the mesh and the cabinets and stuff like that. I think those are in the back actually. But we got in. I got in at 5 o'clock yesterday morning and just pulled and shipped and started getting stuff together. And then we got in today at 7 o'clock and moved the rest of the inventory over. And we've just been going. So we actually worked the whole day. The sewers are in the other building. Our cut guys are still in the other building. I think we're moving cutting into here tomorrow. But we actually pulled and shipped everything out of here today. And we didn't do anything different than what we did. And we had to figure out where all our inventory was. We're not used to where we have it all placed yet. But even with that, we shipped probably 30% more than we would in a normal day. Just not bumping into each other and having more room. I'm not sure where they put. I don't know why they put all those other boxes we bought yesterday. All the other storage cabinets.
I don't know. I wasn't here.
I wonder where they are.
Pulled around here. There they are.
They're still on the trailer.
That's where they are.
Good thing it didn't rain.
So
Still on the trailer.
we got a bunch more of those
No
tables.
shipping containers, no fencing back there either.
Some more of the storage cabinets. They're not super secure, but they just, they're nice. And they
Tartar
are
fence sitting
uniform,
there.
they match, and you can keep all your shit outside.
Some animals. I think those are goats.
Yeah, there's no fencing there for yet.
It's
Yeah, I
just
couldn't have
the.
told you for the daylight outside, so
Yeah.
I literally haven't seen the daylight. All right, let's get back to work.
I don't remember
Go ahead.
I don't remember having T-post fencing like that.
How do you think you busted your head open?
But who fenced all that shit?
You did.
The whole thing?
Yes,
I don't remember that.
he did. I was
That's a
there.
lot of fencing to put in by hand.
It
I
was.
remember that you were driving a T-post.
Yeah, but that was over in the bushes. Like we were making little pins to keep the chickens and stuff in. But I don't remember this whole place being fenced like that.
How
Go
else
ahead
would
and,
you have had
cut
animals?
that shit off.
Well, we didn't have any fencing. The sheriff would be like, "Hey, John, your goats are out on the freeway," and I'd be like, "Are they on the freeway or are they on the hill?" He's like, "Well, they're on the hill." I go, "Have they ever been on the road?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "All right." He's like, "Well, we chased them back in. Don't worry about it." What just happened? I just lost. Wow,
It ended.
that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, I heard you say cut that shit off, which is the end.
Hold on, right here.
All right, let's get back to work. Go ahead and cut that shit off.
There you go.
That's how I ended every video. Cut that shit off. All right. Well, that was cool. I don't remember putting all that fencing in.
Yeah, it's odd to see. Like you were talking about that roller cart for the material.
Yeah.
I bet you had an idea where it wouldn't be so streamlined like this. Like every little station does its own little thing.
Yeah, we were going to bring in an auto cutter and do all this shit. And people are always like, "Why don't you have a laser?" I'm like, if I bought a laser in here, I'd have to let 3 guys go. And then I don't have 3 guys here when we need them for something else. I'd rather have the people here. Plus, those people have come here and given me years of their life. So, I mean, we're really good doing it how we're doing it, right?
Yeah.
If I all of a sudden had, it's an ebb and flow thing, right? We hired 3 or 4 girls in the last couple months. They're gone, right? One of them quit to go to school. One of them had come back to work. She's worked here for over a decade probably, and she's really, really good. We do miss her. I like her, and her production was really good. But she quit to go to school, right? There's some government grant program, so she's at home with her kids. So my suspicion is it has more to do with her raising her kids. And then a girl came in and did really good. She was here early every day, which I really noticed, right? When I opened the gate and she's the first one through the door, I'm like, wow, that's a fucking good sign. And she did really good for a week or 2. And then her daughter comes into work, and her daughter did really good for a week. And then her daughter started missing days, always had to go do something. And then tells me she's got some schooling and she's only going to be able to work, 20 hours. And I'm like, okay, we'll work with that. And then she just kept going and going and going. And you're going to catch me on the wrong day. And I'm like, hey, it's time for you to not work here anymore. She's like, you piece of shit. It's not my fault I'm a single mother. I go, I didn't even know you're a mother. You never told me that. I have no idea, but that has nothing to do with this. So when you get your next job, I would just let them know that you're going to miss half of the work week and that you need to take every other day. You need to be gone for a couple of hours, and that when they, finally had enough of your shit, you're going to tell them that it's, you're the victim. So then mom just the same fucking thing started happening. So I actually called her. I'm like, hey, come here and talk to me. And I'm out there at, work day starts at 8. I'm out there from about 8:30 to about 9:30, and she'd come rolling in 8:45, 9 o'clock. I mean, for 10 days, and I didn't address it. And finally, it was just the day, right? But every time she
just picked the wrong day.
She'd show up at 9 o'clock, and then first breaks at 10 o'clock, and she'd get up. That bitch would get up every fucking day and be right on break, right? She knew right when fucking break was. She knew right when quitting was. And I'm like, come here and talk to me. And I always have somebody with me. So number one, I know exactly what I said. There's a witness. And so that I'm never speaking to a female, there can never be any accusations that something inappropriate happened. I'm just at the point where I have to do that shit. So I'm like, tell me what you think I need to know. What's the issue here? Well, I just overslept. I'm like, okay, go buy a fucking alarm clock. And she kind of looked. I go right now. Buy an alarm clock, bring the alarm clock back here and show it to me, and then be to work on time fucking every day from now on. Well, I have an alarm clock. Okay, so then this isn't about you missing your alarm clock, because I've asked you a dozen times, why were you an hour late? Why are you over? I didn't hear my alarm. So obviously we need a different alarm clock, right? Because if you're not hearing your phone alarm, the solution is on the other side of the room, put your fucking real alarm clock so you have to get out of bed, right? She goes, well, I just have some problems. I'm like, okay, what, explain it to me. Make me understand.
Yeah.
Well, I came home and my house smells like smoke, and there's the burner on one of my stoves was all the way on, and the other one had a pitcher with 3 tea bags, and the water was all evaporated. And I'm like, what does that have to do with you not being to work on time?
Yeah. Sounds like somebody.
Yeah, you wouldn't understand. I get it. It's my problem. I go, no, I'm just asking you. That happened last night. What does that have to do with now? If you're telling me somebody's coming in my house when I'm not home, I go, well, then I would think you'd want to be home right now. I go, look, why don't you take a week and just sort your shit out? I go, you have a job. You do your job pretty well. I would have given you a raise already if it not for the fact that you keep missing all this work. I go, all these girls here, they're here 50 hours every week minimum, because that's by choice. I go, when I hired you, you were the first person here for a week. I go, you were actually better than a lot of my people that have worked here for years the first 2 weeks. I go, when you can come back and work like you did the first week, you've got a job. So go handle your shit. Go take break right now. Come back in here. We'll pretend nothing's happened. But from now on, you're to work every day on time. Or take off today, come back tomorrow, or come back in 3 weeks. I'm at peace with this. I don't care what it is. But if you want to work here, you have to be on time. And it's not about her not being on time. It's about her not being on time, not making up the time, not putting forth any effort. I said the fastest thing you fucking do every day is quit. I go, you're never on time. You're an hour late to work, but you still take a break. I go, what does that say to all the other people working here? And that's really what this is about. And she's like, what happened? Because I had talking to Miranda hours later about it. She's like, what happened? I told her, I go, it's not even about her. It's about the other fucking people.
Yeah, you can't let an employee behave badly over and over and over again without addressing it, because pretty soon everybody will be doing the same fucking thing.
It's not even about that. It's not about them doing the same thing. It's not about jerking or setting an example. It's just fucking common courtesy. It's ethics.
They're doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
They see somebody else not.
Yeah. You came and asked me for a job. I didn't come and find you, right? You said, can I have a job? We taught you how to do the job. You'd never even fucking run a sewing machine. And that's what I say all the time. I'm like, I don't even need to know your name for 90 days. Until the guys, like that's when we'd hire a new dude. I'm like, I don't even need to know his fucking name until he's got a nickname. Because they'll always do what it takes to get the job, but they never do what it takes to keep the job, ever. And that's where I was going with this is so we scale all these girls. We have more girls. You need to hire another guy, because the guys cutting can't keep up with all the stuff that's being digested through the sew floor, right? But then when you've ebbed those girls, when you lose a few of them, now you're sitting with extra dudes that are cutting way more and the work's stacking up. So you're burning through a ton of fucking material and you have a ton of labor cut that's not going to be sewn for a fucking month, right? So what do you do with those guys? How do you use that labor? So it's just a constant song and dance, man. It is constant.
It's a juggling act.
It really is, yeah.
It's those type of people want a job, but they want to get a job, but they don't want it.
It's drug addict shit.
Yeah.
I saw my ex-wife do that, right? Mm-hmm. She'd just melt down and be completely fucked up. And then you'd move all your shit out of the apartment or whatever. And then all of a sudden she'd square her shit away. And then she'd talk about a job. And then she'd go get a job, but she'd only work the job for a week or two. And then the boss was an asshole. It's just like that. Like, yep. I really don't think that this girl had a drug issue, but it looks exactly the same.
The mentality.
It's the same behavior.
It's the same. It's stripper shit.
Yeah.
It's stripper shit. It's the same fucking thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. So
are we going to open an SOE strip club?
No.
Fuck no.
No. I don't.
That's a can of worms you do not want to open.
The very first time I can remember in my adult life saying, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, was on Sunday. Literally, I'm like, I don't want to fucking work tomorrow.
This Sunday?
Yep.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's like, for me, if I'm not, I have two kind of emotions about not working. One is that shit needs to get done.
Well, I would have been here.
Yeah.
What I should have said is I don't want to have people here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just to the point where I'm tired of fucking having, it's too much work. It's too much headspace for me to maneuver and work so that other people can work that don't want to work. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm fucking just tired of it. Yeah. Like, I could just not do SOE anymore. And really, we would always still do SOE. I would just do it in a different manner. Yeah. I think sometimes I'd like to just turn off all ordering, fulfill orders that we have, refund the ones that we fucking just, aren't going to get to or whatever at that point, and then just do fucking higher dollar custom shit. And I would just have the motherfuckers that show up to work early every day. Mm-hmm. And just wouldn't deal with anybody else. Wouldn't fucking have to mess with it anymore. Yeah. Because I wouldn't have to build product and then put it up on the website and sell it. We would literally just be, if you know, you know. Yeah. Like, we have enough customers at this point that we could do that. And I have these conversations over and over. But it did dawn on me, and it's still in my head today, which is Friday. But Sunday was the first day I ever said, man, I don't want to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I wanted to do shit around here. I just didn't want to have to deal with people.
Yeah. Well, that's a good, I mean, you know, people, we always talk about people are the biggest problem,
Yeah.
you know?
It's definitely your biggest frustration. People are your biggest asset, but they're also your biggest frustration, especially as a business owner, right? I see a lot of guys giving free business advice. I was on TikTok Wednesday morning loading something, so I'm still on the platform, and there's some dude that, I don't know, we follow each other. I don't know who he is. But he's like, yeah, I went to this company, you know, that I'm really friends with about seeing a job, and they're just not paying enough. If people would just pay their employees more, you know, if you just pay your employees more money, and I'm like, you know how I can tell you don't own a business?
Yeah. Exactly.
That was my comment. I
Yeah.
actually broke my rule, and I'm like, go start a business, come back and talk to me in 12 months. Tell me that you're paying your people what they're worth.
Yeah.
Because chances are you are, but they're not going to think that you are.
Well, and everybody's on about this living wage. Living wage.
Well, that's
this,
why we
living
fucked up
wage
society.
that.
We've told these kids they're entitled to all this shit, and we've convinced them, we've just given them these term words, right? These key words. Balance. I need balance. No, motherfucker. You need to go work the fucking skin off of your fucking fingers and the skin off of your fucking knees and work and toil so that you have some threshold of hardship so that you're calibrated to a manner that you know what you can actually do. Nobody knows what they're capable of anymore. We used to fucking push cars places when we needed them repaired. There wasn't a put it on a trailer. We would literally get 5, 6, 7 dudes and push a car and then fucking coast down the hills and push it up motherfucking hills to get it where we needed it to go so that we could have somebody fix the fucking car if we couldn't fix it ourselves. They can't do that now.
I pushed my car more than it ever started.
She
at the
jumped.
key.
I don't think she even had a starter in her car the first year I knew her.
Oh, I had a starter, but it had a.
We all
terrible
have, like,
electrical
I used to
problem.
drive around in a car and the police would stop me because the wheels were sparking from the fucking wires. And eventually it would go flat and you'd put fix a flat. And after a couple more weeks of that, fix a flat wouldn't fix the tire anymore. So you drive with a fucking flat tire to a used tire place and they'd put another bald tire on your car and you get a couple more months out of it.
Yep. I would put, when I was delivering pizzas, I would spend $15 a tire for used tires
Yep.
every
Mine were
week.
35 and they'd put them on. And then
Yeah.
we'd go all the way out to Winter Gardens out in Lakeside to a bunch of Mexican dudes and they'd put a fucking another bald tire on your car. And every time I was driving a Honda Civic or something, doing a delivery route, right? And the CV joints were fucked up in the car. So when you turn left, I think it'd go, and then when you would turn all the way to the right, the car would turn itself off because there was some wire that was fucking grounding out. Like, we just did what we had to do. There was never a question as to whether we were going to work.
Yep.
You were going to be at work.
That's like there was a comment on one of our videos that I saw today. Somebody was like, you know, you just make it happen. You just get it done.
Yeah, it's not an option.
Because we grew up in an era where there was no other option. Like, you just, if you had to do it, you had to do it. It didn't matter how you got it done. You just had to do it.
It's like going to school when you were a kid. There wasn't an option where you were staying home sick.
Fuck
Yeah.
no. And
Never was that happening.
I walked my whole high school career until I was a senior, and at that point I rode a bus 90 minutes each way because we lived on the outside of town, and I had to ride the public bus, not even the school bus, because we lived so far out. But before that, I walked to school every day of my life.
Me too.
Like, when I went to junior high, it was like 2 miles, 2.5 miles each way to the bad junior high, by the way. We had a lot of gangs in fucking 7th grade. It was bizarre.
First job I had was working at McDonald's when I was 13. I rode a bus 90 minutes to get there. Had
Yeah.
to transfer from one bus to another to go work. Legal job where they paid me a paycheck from McDonald's at 13.
I bet you that was still in that era where they had that saying, time to lean, time to clean.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is-
every fast food restaurant has that. I'll bet they
Yeah.
don't now.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, that you're talking about kids wanting a living wage and balance. No, it's work. Like,
Right.
and then you work your way up. And if you
Well, that's-
good at your job that you don't have anything to do, then clean.
That's the point,
You know?
right? When you're the greeter at Walmart or you're working at McDonald's, they're like, I can't afford an apartment. Yes, motherfucker, you're not supposed to you can't, that's not a living. That's to teach you how to fucking work and appreciate the fucking job you get that's worth having. You're not supposed to be 50 years old fucking flipping burgers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now they're starting kids at $20 an hour to work at McDonald's and don't have kids. That's why they're automating everything. And the fucking corporations are going to be like, we're automating this shit so we don't have to deal with your bullshit.
That's that short-term thinking. They're like, oh, we'll get $20 an hour.
Yep.
But next year your job isn't going to be there.
Right.
You know?
Yep. Wait till that UBI comes in, Universal Basic Income, right? Let's say the government gives everybody $2,000. We ain't getting $2,000.
I'm not going to get it.
They're not going to give us $2,000. Fuck no. They're going to give motherfuckers that don't do nothing $2,000. What's going to happen when motherfuckers who don't do anything have $2,000? The apartments that are $1,200 or $1,500 don't want motherfuckers like that living there, because people that don't earn money that can live someplace don't maintain your shit. If you took a $2,000 a month rent and raised it to $3,000, you'd be full occupancy, but you're going to have people that are they're just going to be busy doing shit because they have fucking money. They can afford $1,000 more. They're not going to tear your shit up as much. That's just facts.
And not only that, but I've lived in a bunch of apartments, and if you are at your apartment complex during the day, nothing good is happening.
Nope.
Right.
You know, like it's almost like that thing, like nothing good happens after 2
Yep.
a.m. Nothing good happens at an apartment complex during the day because everybody should be at work.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. You shouldn't be able to. I mean, that's a great idea that you're going to afford property, right? But you don't get to go buy the $2 million mansion. That's barely a house in some places, right? But let's just say the $2 million mansion. That's not your first home. That's not your starter home. You buy a place you don't want to live. You clean it up. You sell it for a little bit more. It's got some equity. You move into another. You do that a few times. Or you start buying extra properties, renting them out. Now you have a residual monthly, somewhat passive income. Yeah. You have to build that, right? You got to do all the shit you don't want to do to be able to do the shit you do want to do. And when you're young, the shit you think you want to do, there's other levels to this shit, right? Until you climb that ladder a little bit, you can't see over the hill and realize there's 20 more fucking mountains out there. And every one of them has something better on it. And people, if you can't get to where they can fucking see you, they ain't going to fuck with you. They're not going to come looking for you trying to help you. You have to come up. And once you come up, the people above you, there's going to be somebody. It's just like the Ford Mustang guy. The guy's got the Ford Mustang with 12 different colors, right? You knew him in high school, and he's like, one day I'm going to paint this car. When you go and tell the Ford Mustang guy from school that you want to buy a Ferrari, he's going to tell you all the reasons you shouldn't have a Ferrari. When you get around the dudes with the Ferraris and you go, I want to buy a Ferrari, he's like, I got a guy. Yeah. What do you mean? Because nobody's ever told you I've got a guy. When somebody says I got a guy, that means I can facilitate that. I can put you with the person that can do it. Do you know what it costs to have a Ferrari every month? Oh, you don't? Yeah, you're probably not going to buy a Ferrari. Not that you can't. You just haven't fucking envisioned it and taken those steps. And it literally is that simple, right? When you tell the Ferrari guy, hey, I want to buy a Ferrari, he's not going to tell you all the reasons you don't want a Ferrari. He's going to introduce you to hey, come on. Do you want a 350? You want a Spider? Do you want a 458? Do you want a California? What do you want, right? Let's go down. Have you ever sat in one? Right? And you're going to go in and you're going to talk to this dude. This is the entry level one. What's the difference between the 360 and the 458? Why is one, $500,000 more? Well, when you drive them, the brakes are very different, right? Yeah. It stops very different. The acceleration is different. The ergonomics are different, right? It's just an older car. But the dude you've looked up to has the fucking 12 different colors on his Mustang.
That probably doesn't run. And if it does run, he's got different size tires on each side, and he's never going to paint it. He's still living in his mom's fucking house.
Well, back to like the universal basic income, those things that people desire are desirable because not everybody can have them. If everybody had a $2 million house, they would be like, oh, you just have your $2 million house? What about this $5 million?
Right.
You want to see what UBI looks like? Go look at an Indian reservation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, that's no bullshit. Go to Alaska.
Yep.
Why is there so much fucking impoverishment there? They all get a fucking check every month.
Yeah, it's because they bring the bottom up to.
It's because you're
level.
kept on the system, right?
Yeah.
They told all these women that if you have a bunch of kids, we'll give you $1,000 a month for the kids. The dad can't live there. And then when these women are like, okay, I want to go do something else, right? I don't want to just be some hood rat mom. I want to go get a job. As soon as you get a job and you make a little bit of money, they threaten to take your fucking your payments away from the state, right? Yeah. They keep you trapped in that system. It keeps you in the low income housing. You're never going to escape that Because as soon as you try to take yourself out of it, they punish you for it. That's the government. That's Democrats for you guys. All right. Fun reaction video. You guys have a good day.
Tactical